Hey, good evening everybody. Welcome from Texas again, and we've finally got some spring moisture back in the area. We had some drops of rain coming down while I was out flying the drone this afternoon and had to bring it in before it got heavier there. But yeah, that's looking out to the northeast or northwest at some of that mess out there. It's not really a very impressive area of thunderstorms, and that's the reason why I didn't do the hand analysis and all that stuff. It just wasn't all that great. Anyway, I can at least give you an idea how it all started. Let me get back to that frame. Let's see here. There we go. This is how things looked across Texas earlier today. And you can see that the convection going up is not very intense at all. It looks kind of mushy on the satellite there. There's a couple of other fragments. And as those get going, there's the progression of the satellite during the day. And then we come up towards evening. And a couple of small overshooting tops, one there around Lampasas, and looks like a few others southeast of Dallas there. Let's check it out on the radar. We'll go to the Fort Hood radar there, and it looks like a couple of the cells on the tail end actually are not doing too bad. That one right there especially looks pretty good. That's up southwest of Killeen. And the other storms that are out here around Marquez, Franklin, those look kind of mushy. Looks like maybe a little bit of an updraft base right in that area there on that cell. However, the stronger elements are pretty well centered in the core of this complex. So probably not a whole lot going on in those. However, like I said, that one looks interesting right now. All right, let's look at the big picture and see what's happening. There's the SPC plot of radar, isobars, and wind. So the pattern is dominated by this high pressure. Obviously, we've got some sort of boundary coming out of that. So we got kind of a convex appearance there. This is probably some sort of cold front. And then the flow of tropical moisture coming up onto the Gulf Coast like that. We'll zoom this out a little bit more and check out the weather. There's the national map at this time, and there's that boundary I was showing you earlier. Looks like they're looking at a secondary boundary up there near Kansas and Nebraska, and it appears we've got yet another front coming inland from California and Nevada. So the wet weather is not quite over, and this is the first wave that's already moving through Tennessee there and approaching the Carolinas at this time. Now we'll check out the air mass. So let me get this centered on the South Plains. And we can see that we do have mid-60s dew points coming up into East Texas and Central Texas there. Some cool Canadian air coming in from the north there. So that pretty much puts our boundary from about Texarkana down to San Angelo. So a lot of the storms that we're seeing are on the north edge of that moist sector there, and especially in proximity to this mesolow there near Brady. All right, let's see. Let me bring up some of the other charts, and I think we'll look at the upper air pattern up at 250 millibars. This is how it looked this morning. Let me see if there's an updated product. It's like pulling teeth trying to get 0Z products now, so I guess we'll just work with this here. This is the conditions up at about 39,000 feet there. Very easy to see that subtropical jet there from El Paso to Atlanta, and the polar front jet is still out west of the Rockies there, but gradually moving in. And We'll go down to 850 millibars, and that's how we analyze the moisture there. And the dew points at that level running about 4 to 6 Celsius, which is around 40. So it looks like moisture is lacking this morning. Doesn't have much depth or much richness, so it is kind of on the shallow side. We can see that already. And let's check out what the soundings look like. Go to the Fort Worth sounding. And this is from earlier this morning also. So not much moisture, just a little elevated layer there at about 2,000 or 3,000 feet. Peaking out at about 50 degrees Fahrenheit, and lots of dry air all the way up the column, up to about 22,000 feet. Let's see if we can get an updated sounding. Looks like we're only getting the mandatory level data. But just a preliminary look at this shows that the moisture has improved a little bit. Looks like we got about 59 there at the surface, and then trailing down into the 40s aloft. So dry air still appears to be a problem at this time. And you can see not much wind there in the lower levels, so we're kind of missing a low-level jet. All right, let's head to the satellite, and we'll give you the high-resolution infrared, showing those cumulonimbus clouds from Tyler to Waco and down to Victoria there. Let's check in and see how things look in the chat there. Okay, we've got Electric Dog there, reporting 37 in Chicago. Got Carl Berghoff here, and Sue M., Ron Chalfant. Shirley Keast is here, 36 degrees in Michigan. Erica Baker in Coffeyville, Kansas, reporting no warnings or watches, 50s and 60s. We got Chris Tyne reporting on that cell there near Austin. Seeing some severe weather in that. We have Mick here and Justin Pulliam. Ron Chalfant reporting possible atmospheric river event for Southern California Wednesday and Thursday. Fun with Tech and Alexi Pinkson-Walsh. Alex Front waiting on those spring temperatures in Indiana. And Sue M. mentioning, yeah, St. Patrick's there, so we're expecting to see that green on the radar map. Okay, Lexi mentioning that storm near Florence. David Moore reporting dew points in the 30s in the Metroplex at 11:30, coming up to the 60s. And Wild Joker, 12,000, hello. And that's, I think I got everybody there. And Ron Chalfant does remind to hit that like button. Okay, water vapor imagery shows the subtropical moisture is definitely overspreading Texas and the southern Gulf Coast there. And we'll take a look out to the west and see what's going on. And it looks like we got yet another wave lined up off the California coast there. So that'll be approaching probably in a couple days here. Now, as far as what's causing all that weather, let me go to the thermal product and show you the thickness and isobars there. Okay, so we can see that there is some banding of the thickness pattern in the southern U.S. So we're definitely dealing with a frontal zone running along the southern border into the southern states there. So this is definitely a possible area of frontogenesis right there, and that's kind of what we're seeing. And I've got this other graphic. I'm going to show you a loop of the thickness. Let me get that set up. it's going to start last night, and then it's going to animate through today and tomorrow. And let's roll that clip. So you can see one wave heading east across Tennessee, and not much going on in Texas initially, but you see the pattern start coming together right there. This is, I think, tomorrow, and then the next wave heads into Tennessee. Now, a better way to see what's happening is to roll it backwards, which is what we're doing. And that brings us to around the current time, and you can see it sets that thickness zone right across Texas and New Mexico. So that's what these frontal systems are picking up. So let me see if I can roll that one more time. And what I'm focusing on here is Texas. You can see that there's this period of nothing happening, kind of a latent boundary, and then right around here, around the 72-hour point, we pick up that wave that develops around Texas. So that's kind of in this area here. Now, what picks that up is the upper level waves moving in from the southwestern U.S. So let's roll this. And you can see initially we're under ridging, and then as we get to the 48-hour point, you can see that very strong wave coming out of New Mexico, and that's what links up with that frontal boundary and brings that weather system into Arkansas and Tennessee there over the next couple of days. So we roll that backwards, and we can see that the wave we're going to be dealing with was over the Northern California coast last night. Okay, so that's kind of a look at how everything is linked together. Let me see if I can go ahead and give you the upper air patterns. Okay, 18Z and 6 hours, so this should be current here. So there it is. Pretty good shortwave there over the Santa Barbara area of California, heading into LA. So things are probably kind of unsettled out there where Ron is in the LA region. And of course this is going to move inland and across the Four Corners area tomorrow. So we will be dealing with that soon. All right, now to see the progression of things, let's look at the NAM mesoscale data. Okay, so there we go. So we see the warm up there. You can see the forecast there of the showers in this area here. The front, of course, is roughly in this area here. So what happens is overnight, looks like the shower activity dies down, moves towards the Shreveport area. And then the question is, where are the boundaries going to be tomorrow morning? Because that's what's going to modulate the convection we see. It appears there is some sort of boundary right there. You can see the difference between the temperatures in the upper 60s and the rain-cooled low 60s up to the north. And it appears that there is some convergence in the wind field early on. So initially we're watching that area just east of Abilene. Then as the day goes on, it appears we see some very strong pressure falls up to the northwest in the high plains. And the surface wind responds, comes out of the south. It looks like this low, I think that was weakening. No, it appears, yeah, there's something holding together right there around the Abilene area. So the boundaries tomorrow afternoon around 3. There's that first boundary, and then we're already seeing outflow from these storms. Looks like they developed there around Abilene and moved towards the Dallas-Fort Worth area later on. And it appears we're going to have a secondary area coming together from Garden City down to about Woodward. So that zone right there. Some pretty good convergence, and looks like some strong dynamics working on that area tomorrow. So 2 possible areas, one here and one up north. And it appears after dark, outflow-driven MCS moving across northwest Oklahoma and towards I-35 there. Then after that, it appears the main system moves to the east and we come under northerly flow. Now there's a couple of other solutions for tomorrow. Let me bring those up here. Well, first of all, I can give you the instability. Here's the CAPE for tomorrow. Roll that forward. So we start out with very low CAPE across Waco, and then as we get the heating, by evening we've got this hot spot around Dallas. So that corresponds to that southern area. Not as much instability up to the north because the moisture is kind of limited up in that area. Now that's the NAM there. I also took a look at the ARW, which is kind of a more sophisticated version of the WRF. And here's what this model run came up with. This is for this afternoon. And then we start out tomorrow morning, and it's got this elevated area of convection moving across North Texas. And we get some early development on the Red River up near McAllister. That moves off to the east, and then we see development in East Texas around Lufkin there. So this is a kind of a different possible solution for tomorrow. So that stuff up near Dallas doesn't come together according to this particular model run. And then we take a look at some of the other models, the NISL WRF. There's tomorrow morning. Here's that wave, large area of upper level lift. There's those showers north of the Red River. And looks like we get initiation around College Station, moving into Lufkin and Nacogdoches there. And we see an MCS moving eastward into Shreveport. So maybe we need to be looking southward tomorrow. And then up in Oklahoma, there's that other area of storms after dark. Kind of a squeegee squall line up in that region. And then the main NAM, let's run that. Start out tomorrow morning. Here comes that upper level lift. And you can see not much development in East Texas, but goes for a few showers around Dallas, a couple thunderstorms. So there's a couple of different possibilities for tomorrow, and we're probably not going to know for sure until tomorrow morning when we see the setup. However, let's look ahead. Look at the air mass ahead of this wave coming out of West Texas. I'm going to bring up a sounding for tomorrow morning. I'm going to put this out near Dallas-Fort Worth, and let's bring that up. So this will show us what the air mass is looking like in advance of that first wave. And it shows there's some decent moisture, 60s dew points, about 4,000 to 5,000 feet deep, a little bit of capping, and then we see a large area of clouds. And what we're doing is we're squeezing instability out of this layer and getting some high-based showers going in that layer right there. So that's what we're seeing on the charts right there. That's that upper level lift working across the area. And then later during the afternoon, let's check out what the air mass looks like after it passes, because that's going to definitely have an effect. This is going to be a forecast sounding for afternoon around Waxahachie. And it shows that the moisture is definitely there. It's not very well capped. So it seems like we should be able to get convection out of that. I'm really puzzled why it's not putting much activity in this region. You know, I do think we have the ingredients to get some, well, actually, yeah, it goes for some storms there. But it's not very widespread, which is kind of surprising. Anyway, one last look at the air mass for tomorrow. This is just north of College Station. We're just kind of sampling it, and it does look like there is some drying in the top of that layer there. So there has been some mixing taking place, and I think we could still get some convection out of that. Now, as far as the hodograph, let's look at the shear. We've definitely got bulk shear in place. The main problem that we have is that the hodograph is fairly straight line. I don't see like really good curvature. Now there is some 0 through 1 kilometer shear. We can see that there. So any storms that move off the hodograph will be able to avail themselves of that. However, the storms that are moving more on the hodograph, those are probably not going to realize much of that shear. And let's see here. I'm trying to think if that's probably almost all I want to mention about tomorrow. I did want to bring up the dew point map so we can kind of see what's happening at the surface. Starting out in the morning, widespread low to mid 60s. So at least at the surface we've got some fairly decent moisture, and then by afternoon looks like a zone of high moisture from just south of Lufkin through Palestine and up to about Corsicana. So this could actually be kind of a focus for convection tomorrow. I would be looking for something to develop here. And then further south, yeah, we could certainly see some development further south in deep East Texas down to Houston. But you can see up there near the Red River, dew points are looking kind of shaky, mid to upper 50s. So that's making me think elevated storms for that region. And we don't even see development until dark up in this region here. So low 50s dew points feeding those cells up north, and those will be kind of outflowish, and I'm sure we'll probably see some high wind reports out of those. So I think that's about all I can cover for the setup tomorrow. Let's take a look at the GFS and look at the long-range pattern. Starting out tomorrow, you can see the low pressure out in this area of central and northwest Texas, and that kind of comes together later during the day in Colorado. You can see the very strong pressure fall, so no wonder the winds are responding and coming out of the south down in this region here. So that's going to limit the southward potential south of I-40. So that's going to kind of cut down on the convergence in this area and bring the better ingredients together up here. On the other hand, the moisture is sitting right down there. So that's kind of a couple factors there for tomorrow. Anyway, the system finally moves eastward overnight. There's Monday morning, system already coming into the Tulsa area, and the cold front is spreading rapidly eastward there. Then as the day goes on, Monday, we're going to be looking for severe weather potential as we get heating. Warm front is over Tennessee there, so I would have some concern about that in that area. And yeah, there it is, going for some deep convection there around Nashville Monday, so I think that will have some potential. And then after that, things move to the northeast. Cold air advection coming in the backside. And then we're looking at kind of a stormy pattern there on the mid-Atlantic coast for Tuesday. And there that goes. Looks like that's going to remain pretty good distance offshore. Things become stormy on the west coast for Thursday. And here comes our next system. 996 millibar low developing in Colorado ahead of that system there. And then we go into Friday. Looks like this first system coming out of the west coast moves into Missouri. Since we have kind of a southwesterly pattern in North Texas and Oklahoma, that's probably going to limit the moisture and kind of advect it up in this direction here. So it looks like the further northwest you go, the further away you're going to be from the moisture later next week there. So that is going to be an issue. There's the weather system moving across Illinois and Indiana on Saturday into the northeast on Sunday. Looks like more snow for that area. Southerly flow returning to Texas. So it looks like continued thunderstorm chances. And here comes another system coming out of the Rockies. And this one has got a little bit more of an MCS developing out ahead of it. So probably we're bringing deeper moisture up into Texas at that time. This is on the 26th and 27th. And it looks like things get kind of cold up in Canada. Big Canadian air mass advecting southward. That's toward the end there, towards the 31st and 1st, so maybe winter is not quite over. That spreads south, and that brings us to the end of the charts. So I'm going to probably take a close look at the conditions tomorrow and figure out if we want to do any special programming. I'm not expecting a whole lot tomorrow, but I think somewhere in southeast up to north Texas we may see some strong storms. Let me take a look at what's going on right now. So check that out. Yeah, pretty strong storm there around Centerville. This is Texas here. This is the Fort Hood radar. These storms are looking a little bit weaker. They're kind of trying to decide if I want to bring up GR level 2. Yeah, I actually don't have it installed in this computer yet, so we don't even have that option. Anyway, yeah, these are looking a little bit weaker. This one is still hanging on kind of strong around Centerville, but it is looks like it is declining a little bit. So I don't think there's too much going on right now. Let me check at the check on the chat here. We got Mark Gebhard in Dallas, decided not to drive to Waco to see the weather. It's not a problem. I think we're going to have a lot of opportunities coming up over the next 1 to 2 weeks. So there will be, with this southern system in place, I think we are going to be looking at kind of an active weather pattern for a while here. CDMA 531 in his car, grabbing some Arby's. Mr. Manlet, 40 degrees in Rockford. We've got Jeff Krob here. Mike Estwick did a hand analysis there, thought there was going to be some big storms. And Jeff Krob talking about potential for rain and snow in Maryland later this week. And Mike Estwick mentioning an outflow boundary. Yeah, I was noticing that too. It looks like there is kind of a outflow boundary leading up into this cell right here. If I had GR level 2 running, I could probably show that to you in more detail. Anyway, that's probably about all I've got. Let me just take a quick look up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Yeah, this all looks kind of like weak elevated stuff. Okay, well, that's about all I got for tonight. I appreciate you all watching. and hopefully we'll see you all tomorrow. Take care and have a good rest of your weekend. Bye-bye.